Hello and welcome everyone to episode 134 of One Piece at a Time, the One Piece read-through podcast where we read and discuss 5 chapters of the One Piece manga each and every week. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host and freelance letterer at Shonen Jump, Brandon Bovia. How you doing, Brandon?
Hello, everybody. I'm Brandon Bovia, a letterer of manga like Kaiju number 8 and Dragon Ball Super. I feel like I made this joke before once already, but since I wonder if I should say that I work on something else, since Dragon Ball has been on hiatus for a little while. But it's the most notable thing.
It's still there. I guess you could.
Yeah. I'm still working on the volumes at least.
Yeah.
I got like one left.
Oh gosh, it's almost caught up. That's a weird feeling.
Yeah, it is. But either way, y'all know what I'm about.
Yeah. You can start saying manga like Deadpool.
That's true. That is true. I am working on Deadpool again. I don't think I mentioned that on the show. Yeah, like go check that out. We're doing season 2, as it were, and it has an amazing twist.
Yeah, you showed it to me. Caught me off guard. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But we are well and proper into Fishman Island. Once again, we're in the territory of neither of us really remembering especially enjoying this arc. And it's very similar to how we approached Thriller Bark, where we did find the positives of that one.
My opinion hasn't really swayed significantly one way or the other so far. But again, like we're just scratching the surface, so like I'm not expecting it to just wow me or win me over. But like it does feel, on the one hand, like, okay, yeah, we're back into the swing of things, but I guess it's hard because we have gone through so many crazy twists and turns over the past 100 chapters that it is like, okay, we're kind of back to business as usual. This is what you would expect from the first like 5 proper chapters of a One Piece arc. Like, the Straw Hats get to a new location and get into shenanigans.
Yeah, that's very true. It definitely matches those beats, but the thing that kind of, honestly, what I'm comparing it to is Skypiea. In the introduction of Skypiea. And I have notes and thoughts about how that comparison works. So I'll bring it up when we get there. But before we actually get into the chapters, there has been a bit of news concerning the One Piece live action show. It's in full production. It is being filmed as we speak. Casting news is starting to come out, which we've gotten bits here and there. But the big thing, honestly, like it's been revealed as of right now anyway, is we know what season 2 is going to cover. Basically everything from Logtown to Drum Island. We are not getting to Alabasta in this season, which good.
Because I actually ran the numbers in my head. That's about 50 chapters.
I think that's a much better ask.
Yeah, considering we covered like 90 in season 1.
Yeah, it was a lot. And I think it also works for budgetary reasons because there might be a lot of characters in the Whiskey Peak section, but otherwise you don't need a ton of extras for this stuff. Alabasta, you need all the extras.
Yeah, I really think like Alabasta basically being its own entire season is going to make it a lot stronger, I feel. And like the thing that I was thinking about with this is my major criticism with the first season was kind of how like they really did kind of cut things down to the bare essentials, but like sort of the need for the Garp subplot, like I think with how they had to balance that with just sort of like the time budget, really, right? Like I'm much more excited at the prospect of a season 2 where we can kind of let all of those original stories breathe and have time for new stuff too. There's a lot of room for, I think, a really good subplot. Like you could do things with Smoker, you could do things with Ace tracking down Blackbeard. Like there's a lot of downtime that you could sort of fill that space with.
Yeah, there's a through line you can do. I don't think we'll meet Ace this season. I'll be honest. I don't think Ace is going to pop up this season. We might hear about we might get the rumblings, but I think that's the other thing is that Garp served as a through line for East Blue because there's not really a lot of connective tissue other than just we're gathering up the crew for the first 90 chapters of One Piece. Here, though, it's it is Vivi. The Vivi is the through line. Trying to get to Alabasta is the through line. So I think that works out way better. And as you said, we can extend things, show more. If they really want to, they can have Wapol show up a bit more. I don't know if they will. Maybe get hounded by a few of the more minor members of Baroque Works. Show off them a bit. Maybe have that as a bit of a through line, and maybe hype up Nico Robin and Crocodile a lot more for people.
Yeah.
Build them up as more of a threat.
Makes total sense to me. Yeah, I'm excited by this prospect.
The other thing we got was, as of just today, as we're recording this, is casting news. We have our Dr. Correa, and it's freaking Katie Sagal. That's amazing.
Great pick. No notes.
Yeah. I've loved Katie Sagal ever since. Married with Children, first of all, is when I first introduced to her. But then I'm a huge Futurama fan.
Yeah. As soon as I was like, oh yeah, I can. Yep.
Yeah, you can totally see it working. She has that snark to her thanks to Futurama. It's great to see her in live action stuff. I think she was in Sons of Anarchy. I think it was called.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Huh. I had no idea.
She's definitely been in a lot, so it's cool to see her lend her talents to this.
The casting continues to be on point.
Very much so. We're getting more casting the next couple of days as well, but obviously we won't be able to talk about those until next week if it's anything too major. We'll see. Mm-hmm. But anyway, let's actually talk about our set of chapters this week, beginning with 606 Deep Sea Adventure. I like that Robin gets a sweet one.
Yeah, this is nice.
Her hanging out with a book with singing birds. It's all good.
I feel like Deep Sea Adventure is really apt for what goes on in this chapter.
this is just the Straw Hats deal with undersea life, and it's rough.
It's horrifying, but in a hilarious way.
It really is. First of all, I love that the Sunny has headlights.
He's got high beams.
Yeah, that's nice. Not sure if you want to make yourself known like that.
Yep.
Because they immediately start getting assaulted by a jellyfish.
I love it. It extends one of the tentacles. The Chopper's like, "Ooh, what's to be friends?"
And Robin's just like, "No, it might be poisonous." And Frankie's like, "Okay, I guess we got to do a mini coup de burst." Just as another fish chomps the jellyfish, and then immediately dies because it is poisonous. It's like, oh, this place sucks.
It's dark and scary down here.
And then we get to like a contemplative Brooke as he's like, they've evolved to not have eyes. Like, I don't have eyes either. Want to know how I can see? It's a secret. Just mumbling to himself.
Yes, Brooke is having a blast down here. He's just in full skull joke mode.
Oh yeah, he is. And the big thing we got to find is that Luffy and Zoro and Sanji are missing because they were outside of the ship when it all went down, and we're still trying to actually find them.
Yeah, and also who's missing is Caribou.
He's gotten away. And it's like, I completely forgot about him, which, to be fair, I did too until they mentioned him again.
Yeah, it's like, oh, yeah. Yeah, and then because they don't know that he has a devil fruit.
Right. And it's like, he has to be still aboard somewhere. So it might be hiding in one of the cabins. And he's just like, he even thinks to himself, because he is hiding in a random barrel. It's like, maybe I'll sneak into women's cabins like you suggested.
Yeah, I love that he's monologuing.
Yeah, he has this giant monologue. Frankie might be MVP here. We just notices him monologuing, just sort of, not even talking to himself, just thoughts. And he's just like silently going over, looking down, seeing Caribou in the barrel, and then immediately tying it up.
Is so good.
And the great thing is, I love how his arm comes out and you just see a toolkit in there.
Yes, exactly. So they just and that's the dangerous part about that devil fruit, man. Like you can slip and slide out of things, but like here comes Frankie with his craftsmanship just to seal him in tight. It's just hilarious.
I gotta say, the more Oda shows off Frankie and just the weird parts of his body now, the more I'm kind of into it, because it's his arm opening up so he can have a toolkit, and then of course the tiny hand that can do better with finer details hammering.
There's a lot of really great visual gags with Frankie.
I'm coming back around on him, which is nice.
Yeah.
It's cool when you can sort of sell you on a design. Mm-hmm. But I love Frankie's comments. It's like, we should have been more alert. It's a good thing he's so stupid, or else we might have been in danger.
Yeah.
But, definitely a Logia type. Seems to be able to turn into mud or something. So, they just keep an eye on that. So he might be a mud man. We honestly don't know yet. It's not 100%
Yeah,
sure.
I don't know, and I don't remember, and I don't care, most importantly.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of people really don't like Caribou.
Trust me when I say he sticks around way longer than you think he will. And I mean way, way, way longer than you think he will.
Odom found some new favorites for some reason, but
yeah. It's one of those things that you just, again, just like the Straw Hats here, like you forget he's there, and then you're just like, oh god, this guy.
If the joke could work, because I honestly don't remember, if it's just constantly Caribou plotting something, thinking he's so smart, having some grand plan, but he's hanging around somewhere for too long and they notice him and then just like take care of him with no issue. So he always seems like there's going to be this sadistic guy that's going to cause all this trouble, and like, nah, he's whatever.
Yeah, it's the part where like he's clearly no threat, but because he's no threat, they're just kind of like, we'll just whatever. Like,
right.
Well, we're not going to kick him out, but we're not going to take care of him either.
Kind of how you treat Buggy if he actually stuck around more than he does.
Exactly. Yeah, he's a bit like that. Yeah.
Time for more dangers. Hydrothermal vents, eyeless crabs, carnivorous tube worms, giant anglerfish. It's just like, oh, this place wants them dead.
Well, and then I feel like the freaky thing for me, again, because you're seeing like the giant anglerfish in size in comparison to the Sunny, and then you turn the page and it's like it's something's pet.
The size of this thing is unbelievable. Even just like the threat of these things, Robin doesn't freak out a whole lot, but she does have like the sort of the dark lines of fear that that the others have.
Yeah. No, they're all, well. Again, I feel like it's funny that we've lost Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, who are definitely like kind of the most go-getter, the monster trio. So now everybody else just has to kind of fend for themselves for a while.
Yeah, and Frankie keeps having to use mini coup de burst, coup de vents,
which take up air.
Yeah, so there's a nice little balance here about, things are a little tricky. But yeah, you're right. It turns out this giant anglerfish is just a pet of a sea monster giant that they just decide to start calling a sea spirit. And he bonks the fish, is like, no, bad fish, don't eat ships. If you do that, Captain Vanderdecken will be angry. And they're like, oh, did it just save us? Are we okay? But they're both monsters. And all of a sudden, a song starts getting played, sung, as a ghost ship comes up.
And not only any ghost ship.
The Flying Dutchman. You're talking about your SpongeBob crossovers.
Yeah. I love that they're just like, oh god, not another one. Another ghost ship.
And they're just all freaking out. It doesn't seem to have a bubble, so it is definitely coming across as a ghost ship. That's when Brooke fills us in. It does match the story of what we're dealing with. It's like, it's the ship doesn't belong in this world. It's hundreds of years old. A stormy night, a pirate captain suddenly went mad and threw his crew overboard. He drowned them all and cursed at the gods. His name was Captain Vanderdecken, and his ship was the Flying Dutchman. To punish him, the gods decreed that he should roam the seas for all eternity. So
he's chilling down here. And as we kind of see, interestingly, like, there are people on that ship. Like, we see, assumingly, there's like a shadowy figure calling out to Ankoro, which is the anglerfish, and Watatsumi, which I guess is like the giant sea spirit thing. They're basically just like, all right, smash that ship. No, it's in the way. We can't get at its treasure.
Yeah, we're going to... They're just after the treasure constantly, and they need to try to get away from that punch because, that fist is as big as as the Thousand Sunny. So think of it in comparison to the Mary. Holy crap!
Yeah.
But they're out of juice, and when it just looks things are at their worst, here comes the Kraken with a punch across Watatsumi, or what's his name? His name is Watatsumi, right across his face.
This is weirdly hype.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's just like, oh, cool, sea monster battle, and
right,
he's pummeling the sea spirit, and Luffy calls out, "Hey, that's enough. Stop." And he's like, good job. And it's just like, oh, wow, he's so cute.
Hard to tell, did he tame it or is that hockey?
A little of column A, a little of column B, but I like how
probably.
I like how the Kraken is just like, oh, thank you for saying
it's praise. Adorable actually, because last time we were like, oh my god.
It's so freaky.
Yeah.
Turns
they
out he's kind
befriended
of
it.
cute. Here's Zoro, Sanji, and Luffy all in the
All
same
in one bubble.
because
Yep. They're looking cramped.
Luffy and Sanji's bubbles burst. They had to join Zoro, and
Yeah.
yeah.
I love Luffy's like, we almost died.
But yeah, they got the Kraken grabs hold of the ship, and they got a ride. They can have him carry them through.
Yeah, which, that's great. I also love that they named the Kraken Tsurume, which means dried squid. And he's happy about the nickname, even though Luffy clearly intends to eat him.
At least a little bit. Might snack
Yeah.
on him just a tad.
Yep.
But that's when things start erupting. Things aren't looking good because a submarine volcano is about to erupt. So they're all reunited, but it's still dangerous.
Can you imagine? When was the last time we covered a chapter in like 10 minutes?
I know. We'd be so much
man.
earlier in this podcast if we didn't talk about the live action news.
Oh my God. Wow. That's a throwback.
There is an SBS, nothing too major, honestly, from it, except that they're talking about early designs from the One Piece Green book, where somebody's asking, so why did you end up using Catalina Devon? Because there's a beautiful woman there for the Blackbeard pirates. Instead, we got Vasco shot. And he's like, well, the theme with Blackbeard, the Blackbeard pirates, is that they're the most pirate-like band of pirates. They're huge, rough, and exciting, so it doesn't really make sense to have a beautiful woman on that crew. So that's why we have Vasco. I like that we have a theme there.
Yeah, definitely. When he points it out, yeah, the Blackbeard pirates are definitely the most like traditionally pirate-like.
And Blackbeard himself certainly comes
For
across
sure,
as the most
yeah.
pirate-like. But I think most pirate-like, and I immediately think to the masked wrestler. I was like, rough and tumble, yes, but
Fair, yeah. I do like, just real quick, the other SBS that we got confirmation that mantra is hockey.
yes. Somebody's asking about it, but he spells it out that yes, they're the same thing.
Yeah, we talked about it before, but yeah. Good to have that down.
For sure. But let's go ahead and move on to our next chapter, 607, 30,000 feet under the sea. Things are about to explode. We see this Captain Vanderdecken ordering their ship to retreat. Watatsumi's pulling the ship while Anglerfish runs away as well. And things aren't looking good. Like now he's like, okay, we need to get away from here. They're just racing side by side as they're pulling each of the ships.
Yeah. I find it fascinating that for the Flying Dutchman and Vanderdecken and all of them, like it seems like this is kind of a place where they would hang out a lot, and even Watatsumi and his pet Koro or whatever, Ankoro. But like they still see like, oh, the volcano is dangerous, so even though this is kind of like their stomping grounds, they kind of have to deal with it too.
Yeah, it's still kind of dangerous down here, which it makes sense because Watatsumi is kind of big, but the Kraken, Tsurume, is even bigger.
Yeah, and I love that the legendary monster's running away with a desperate look on his face. He's just like, oh God.
What an awkward way of running. It's like you can just sort of imagine it pumping its tentacles like it's like it's pumping its arm for running.
I might have to check out what this scene looks like animated because it looks hilarious.
Oh, I'm sure it is. But then, just 2-page spread of the actual eruption from the volcano and just showing that scale. You can see just barely the Kraken and the Flying Dutchman in the bottom left, and it's like, holy crap, that is just massive.
As much as I do kind of want to just get to Fishman Island, it is actually really cool seeing kind of how underwater works in this world and all of the things that they have to deal with on the way there.
Yeah, it's sadly enough, in a way, it's a little bit more interesting than Fishman Island itself, which again, I'll explain a little bit later, but
yeah, at least for the parts where we get to.
Yes. But the difference in temperatures is creating a vortex. Things aren't so good, but hey, Fishman Island is pretty close. We got to just head for this trench, which is another pitch black abyss. And nope, it's like, nope, we gotta jump down there. You can do it, Tsurume. And he leaps. And I love how you can still see that one of his tentacles is cut up from Zoro when he does that.
Oh my God. Wow. This is incredible detail.
Seriously, just keeping track of all that. And as they're coming down, a bunch of boulders get blasted off because of the volcano. So they got to try to avoid those. And Zoro is going to head outside to chop him up. But Robin grabs hold of him with as many arms as she can. It's like, no, we're 25,000 feet underwater. The pressure is going to crush you. And that's when Usopp stepping up with his green star Sargasso, putting out a ton of seaweed vines that catch all the boulders. My man.
Yeah, and I love, like Luffy's just like, good job, Usopp. You know, it was perfect timing. Like I love that. And even Zoro, you know, he's just kind of confident, like, nice work. Like, it's cool seeing Usopp just kind of on the ball.
Yeah, kind of that equal level. You can see he's definitely still nervous about it because he has that runny nose, but it's just like, yeah, good on you.
He did it.
My boy, he's definitely, you can see how he's improved. Unfortunately, we have to have a pratfall because another boulder that they didn't notice lands right on Surume's head, knocks him out,
Bonked.
And they all fall down to 30,000 feet in the trench, which is oddly bright.
Yes, yeah, there's a lot of like actual sunlight coming through.
Which I don't know if they fully explained yet, if my memory serves. I don't think they have.
We'll get there. I do remember that there is an explanation for that.
Okay.
Actually, a kind of really important one.
Yeah, I assume so. But they look ahead, and there it is. Within a giant bubble is Fishman Island. We finally reached there. Yeah, it's quite gorgeous. It just looks like a giant fish tank, circular fish tank.
With that light coming through, the light shafts coming down. Yeah, it's really cool.
Much more calm looking sea beasts, even though they're still huge. Mm-hmm. So they've done it. They've finally, after all this time, reached Fishman Island.
Poor Sanji can't stop fantasizing about mermaids.
Nope. And he's already spitting blood, has the blood coming out. And he's not doing so well. He's like, he even says, I'd rather bleed to death while I leer at those mermaids than live on with my dream unfulfilled. And they just call him a freak.
Freak, yeah. I love the sort of crisis of conscience Usopp's having here, where he's just like, yeah, meeting the mermaids of Fishman Island was his dream, but he'll die. But it's just like, you know, this is One Piece, right? You have to fulfill your dreams, but
it's an idiotic dream.
A freak. Yeah, exactly. It's just like,
Thankfully, up to this point, he's only had minor blood spurts because it's like when he has that sort of under control, quick side motion of blood. He's
gonna run out of blood though. He's got to keep that under control.
Yeah, that actually is a legit concern Chopper's having.
Yeah, he's like, oh no.
Luffy's dreaming about the food, what they're gonna see, and it's like, okay, we just got to find the entrance. Let's get there. And that's when the Kraken is confronted by something else. And it turns out that there's a pack of sea beasts. One that looks like a lion, an elephant, a bear, a giraffe, a gorilla, a rhino.
I agree. Yeah, I love that. It's just like, they're just animals, but like fishified.
It's very odd. And it's just like, oh, they're as big as the Kraken. That's bad. At least it seems that way. And turns out these people are riding the sea beast, or at least the giraffe one. It's like, oh, we recognize you. You're the Straw Hats. And you actually crushed the ambitions of the Arlong pirates. If that were all you'd done, this would be much simpler. But 2 years ago, you did protect Hachi along with one of Arlong's former officers, and you beat up a celestial dragon. So we're a bit conflicted about your deeds.
Yeah. And here we go. We got the full reveal. We got these really like kind of actually very Arlong, like the way they dress is very Arlong-esque, where they kind of, you know, they're very gangster.
Which is fitting because Hammond does have the Arlong tattoo. Yeah.
Not only that, he's got the sun tattoo, but with like a human with its head cut off.
Yeah, that's okay. I think
all right.
I think we kind of got to get the idea that this guy's really not a fan of humans.
Yeah, and it's very fascinating the way that he spells it out of just like whose side are you on, really? You know, like you can tell whoever this guy is, Hammond here, like he definitely seems like a follower of Arlong.
Which is not necessarily a good thing, especially because he says, are you with us or against us? Will you submit to the new Fishman pirates or do you refuse?
Well, okay, I missed that. So there you go. Yeah, he's the new Fishman pirates. So it seems like they're kind of taking up the mantle where Arlong left off.
Yeah, and it's like, well, if you refuse, we'll sink your ship right now. And I love the look on Nami's face when she notices the Arlong tattoo.
Yep.
Like it's like,
yeah.
It's an important part of her character, and she's been good around Fishman at this point, but this is an Arlong fishman, and that's
Yeah, we're kind of having to. I feel like we're gonna have to confront a lot of that stuff about Arlong.
yes,
At some point here.
and I think that definitely has some of the most potential of the whole Fishman Island arc.
Mm-hmm.
And she immediately realizes, like, yeah, Luffy's not going to listen to them. We're in a depth of 30,000. We won't be able to fight, which means there's no way we can win. So we have to run. Use all the remaining air for one last coup de burst and shoot into Fishman Island. If we don't, we're going to die.
This is all happening while Luffy is confronting Hammond here. And of course, Hammond, it feels like the rest of the Straw Hats are just kind of like, we all know what Luffy's going to do. Like, he's going to tell him to piss off. So, like, while Luffy will inevitably provoke him, let's just get ready to skedaddle.
And of course, we end off with him just calling out, "No way, moron."
Yeah, exactly. That's where it ends. So
Yep.
it feels like I find it interesting, just kind of like minute one, we're not even in Fishman Island yet. We are outside of it. And it's just like, yes, okay. The past coming back to haunt you.
It did not take long. Nice potential setup again with Arlong being here, or at least the what Arlong represented. Do you have an SBS? Only real interesting one here is that the Great Terminal is actually modeled after the slum in the Philippines called Smoky Mountain. I did not realize that.
I am not surprised at all that it is based on a real place in the real world.
Yeah, not really.
Given the themes, and I love even Oda goes out of his way to say, like, yeah, this, like, what was presented in the manga is very surface level, compared to sort of like the
disease and everything else.
Yeah. But I feel like I appreciate that with Great Terminal and stuff. We talked about all that during the flashback, but like, you can fill in the blanks yourself.
Yeah, you can assume that sort of stuff is the case at Great Terminal as well.
Yeah, for sure. Not a good place, turns out.
No, who would have guessed? All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to chapter 608, Underwater Paradise. And Hammond's just like, wait, you refuse? And, that makes you an enemy of the fishmen, so you're nothing but wicked humans. And Luffy's just still taunting him. It's like, yeah,
yep,
we don't have to work for you. So it's like, nope, we can't let you pass. Sea Lion, chomp him up. And Usopp saying to Frankie's like, oh, we're ready. Let's go. And there's the full coup de burst, gets him out of the way. And it's actually, because it is using up all the air, it starts deflating their bubble.
God, they're going to suffocate.
They're like just barely pushing up against the bubble protecting the ship. And it's like, all right, we're going in. And they make it through the outer layer. And the bubble tore off the coating. So their coating is now gone from the ship.
And they're just in water.
Yeah, turns out that there's 2 layers of the bubble. A normal ship would fall into the gap between them. So they hit one bubble and then they go through some water and into another bubble. And because of that, they're in the water. They have 4 devil fruit users, so they're not in great shape.
Yeah, and even, Sanji can apparently can move underwater now, but even the current is too strong for him.
I mean, they're going just how fast, so it makes sense. So, yeah, not too surprisingly, here's our excuse for why everybody gets separated almost immediately.
Yep.
In true One Piece fashion. But again, it's always a different way that it happens. So, of course, Hammond and the others think that they're already dead. But we should check anyway. You don't want the Neptune army be finding him before we do. But first, we should return to Noah and tell the boss that the Straw Hat, the one who crushed Arlong's ambitions, is here. So it's like, okay, we're getting some details. We got a Neptune army. We got, I don't know if Noah's a place or a person.
We'll find out in this set.
Okay, I can't remember, honestly.
Yeah. No, I thought that was interesting. Yeah, it is vague, but we'll learn in a couple chapters.
Yeah, it's just because it's phrased to Noah and tell the boss. So you could sort of interpret that as 2 separate things.
Yep.
Either way, we go to the seafloor of Fishman Island, and we got 5 new characters, these mini mermaids, who have a very specific gimmick. See? Look. I looked. I'm not looking. I think you looked. So what if I looked? It's just always in that structure.
Yep.
And, okay. But he wakes up, and turns out Cammy rescued him.
Yeah.
Cammy's back.
First time in 2 years.
Yeah. Which, I didn't compare her pre and post time skip designs, but she definitely looks more mature here.
I think so, yeah. She looks a little older, which of course Sanji, locks onto immediately.
Oh, of course. Yeah, honestly, she looks pretty great. Way more mature, which is like weird for Cammy in a way.
Yeah, well, it's funny because it feels like she still kind of has kind of her, her personality hasn't changed that much. She's like, I was going to pick you guys up, but I messed up the date by about a month. So she's still kind of an airhead.
Very much so. And then there's a... the freak out is like, hey, I'll warm you up with some soup. Oh, it's cold kelp soup, so it's good. Wait, you're gonna warm us up with cold soup? Oh no! And she has the freak out face that we always
the freak out face. See. Yeah. So she really hasn't changed.
No, not really. Like again, she looks more mature, but as us the others, they haven't matured at all. Honestly, with the little mermaids hanging around, it's like, did she have kids? But no, they're not her kids.
Yeah.
It's like, okay then. She's sort of introducing them, and these are the Guppy Mermaid quintuplets. Ichika, Nika, Sanka, Yonka, and Yonka 2. Which
they're counting up to 1 to 5.
And it's just like, wait, shouldn't you be Goka? Because, 5.
5. Yeah. Yonka 2 that's a good name. It's an interesting name. Also, for the people who I noticed, I'm just gonna say that I noticed. I don't know if it means anything, but I noticed.
What in the hell?
Probably no connection, but if there is, I gotta call it out. I'm sorry.
Huh. I'm like scanning through all this. I'm like, only thing I notice is like that they're wearing like bubble inner tubes, which is cute, but I don't know if it's anything.
I now that I said that out loud, I'm like, am I thinking about this too deeply? You never know with One Piece.
I'll give you a pass, but especially since I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. But turns out that they're at the bottom of the Mermaid Inlet. It's a female dormitory for the Mermaid Cafe, where lots of her friends live. And of course, Sanji's just drooling at the thought.
Mermaid Cafe is a good, that's a good wordplay. I laughed out loud when I read that. I was like, of course there would be a Mermaid Cafe.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Oh my God. That's pretty
clever.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good on you, Oda. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And this is the best one so far of all of these stupid Sanji nosebleed gags where he's thinking about all of, the Mermaid Maid Cafe, and then like he locks in and he holds it in.
Yeah, he's like, no, I swore to myself I wouldn't waste any time getting a nosebleed and passing out. I should be allowed to have something nice for once.
Yeah, that line is poor Sanji.
He really has gone through hell.
He's just on his hands and knees, just like, oh.
It's honestly the funniest this gag has been.
Yeah.
But it's time to get introduced to sort of more of the world where they leave the spot.
Like this stuff's really interesting.
Yeah, where they have this, again, another bubble where they can ride the sea turtle elevator, and you get to see the underwater coral apartments where, she has cheap rent, but she's down at the bottom. The rooms at the top get more light, so they're more expensive. Yes, she's in the hood.
Yeah.
Of course, Hachi got really injured last year, and he's still recovering, but he's resting up in the Fishman district, which apparently is a bit closer to the hood because it's kind of scary. So
yeah, well, as we'll get into on the next page, where apparently they ask about Papagu. Papagu lives because he's rich. He's a fashion designer. He lives in a mansion in an area called Fishfully Hills.
I love that name. Fishfully Hills is one of the best puns.
Yeah, if you hadn't noticed, I think Fishman Island is America. I'm just gonna say it.
That's such an odd thing to base the Fishman Island on. Is decide to make it.
I think what made it click is that the new Fishman pirates, the Arlong and all of them, like it's very gangster. Right? It's a very kind of an American interpretation of what like a gangster is. So when we kind of are getting hints of like income disparity and, like, oh, this is like the bad neighborhood and the rich neighborhood, just, Fishfully Hills. Like, it's Fishman Island is LA.
I love how Luffy's also confused. Like, wait, you're his owner, right? Why don't you live with him? It's like, well, it's not my status. Besides, the clams around here taste better. It's like, what? That is odd. Like, why is Papagu not helping Cammy?
Yeah. I wonder if we'll get into that. I don't remember if there's sort of a good reason for that.
I have no earthly idea. That's for sure. But we do get a little bit of an introduction on how things kind of work, where they're like, oh, what are those tubes over there? Well, that's Water Road. The bubble artisans made them, so the fish and us can go wherever we want thanks to that. So, here we go. They can even swim into the sky. Well, the Fishman Island
which
sky.
The fact that the Fishman Island has a sky
with clouds, so it's like, okay. It's one of those things where this is sort of where I compared to Skypiea, where
with like the roads and stuff.
Yeah, where it's like we're getting a lot of like visuals and indications, but Skypiea is a lot simpler because it's all clouds, so it's a little bit more easy to take things in, and they explained a lot more here. And here we're not really getting a ton of explanation so far, so Fishman Island feels just kind of confusing for me right now. It's like it's hard for me to like really get wrapped up in it in the same way. So I don't know. I struggled with it when I read it.
Disagree. I think just sort of the concept of it inherently is like it's underwater but not. But you ask yourself, why is it underwater but not when all of these people can like live and breathe underwater? So it feels like the nature of kind of this place feels like it is meant to serve like humanity that doesn't live here. At least for me in this moment right now, it feels like the way that this place is set up is like meant to accommodate the story instead of like kind of feeling like a place that would reasonably exist where fishermen and mermaids would
live.
Right. Like it's just like all of sort of like the water roads and stuff like that. Like they can just like swim. Is all of this really necessary? But I don't know. It does make it feel kind of otherworldly and kind of magical in the same way, though.
It's one of those things where you can almost wonder, because of all the interactions with humans, that they've eventually changed it so they could accommodate humans. It also makes you wonder, like, all right, Tinfoil had a theory on, especially now.
Let's go.
We don't know when the racism against fishmen began. Is it due to the Void Century, where all of a sudden something changed because of something in the Void Century, and the Fishman Island existed in harmony with humans for a while, and because of whatever happened in the Void Century and all the crap that happened past that, when it started back up again, that's when the racism started, the human superiority and all the celestial dragons started up. That's when this is just remnants from that, and they decided to keep it because, well, we still need a way past the red line.
You're getting warmer. You're getting warmer.
If something doesn't make sense, blame the Void Century.
Honestly, yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, that's also why I'm really excited to revisit this arc, because I know that there's stuff in here that is kind of evokes kind of revelations from later on.
Okay.
We certainly don't have all of the answers, but based on what you just said and based on the things that I know, I think there are pieces that start to fall into place for sure. Mm-hmm. So that'll be fun to break down once we kind of like I feel like once we get like later on, I'm gonna have to kind of remember the discussions we had back here, like how much of this actually ended up kind of coming to light or not. I think you're on the right track. I definitely think there's something there.
Either way, Sanji locks in, finds the mermaid inlet, and here's a bunch of mermaids.
You know what I do? Well, actually, yeah, I think I'll say this now. I was wondering if I should save it for like next chapter after that. I do kind of like how genuinely all the mermaids seem to like Sanji. Like they all kind of just like, hey, what's up? Like they're all cool. Like it's played completely straight. They're not like, and I guess that's the thing. Like Sanji, he's like a horn dog, but not in like a gross way most of the time. So like in this, it really does like. I kind of do appreciate that he's just having a good time and like everybody's just chill and happy, and
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's a visitor. Like, they're not like weirded out by him, even though they, you could argue whether or not they should be, but like, I don't know. It's the sort of dynamic with Sanji and the mermaids is sort of kind of genuinely heartwarming in a weird way.
It's interesting that they're just sort of treating him as curiosities.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's sort of like a less antagonistic island of women from here.
Yeah, right. Yeah. They're all.
You got the one girl's like, oh, they came here illegally. That's so wild. I just love pirates. So it's like,
yeah, I love that. Like Sanji's just like, he's crying. He's like, I found the all blue.
One of the girls even takes Sanji's hand. Is like, oh, let's dance together in the sea. And he's just like,
he's crying.
He's crying. I'm probably gonna die today.
Yeah.
But not so good is that some of the mermaids have found a barrel that arrived with Cammy's friends. So wonder what's in it. Liquor?
Yeah.
Treasure? Shall we open it?
It's suspicious.
And that's when we do get confirmed that Noah is a place. I did forget. I just completely missed that. It's also like, it shows like an arc almost, which fitting.
Interesting. I wonder what that's about.
Yeah. I don't know exactly, but I can make a few guesses.
You mean there's a ship called Noah?
But all we end with is that it's like, Straw Hat Luffy is finally here, so bring him to me. And this is the boss, who's definitely kind of reminiscent of Arlong as far as
he's
look.
got that
Doesn't
look.
have the nose, but he has the look.
Yeah,
quite interesting in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead and move on to chapter 609, Adventure on Fishman Island, where we get a lovely bubble scene for our two-page spread.
Yeah, this looks really nice. It's cute.
Nothing much more to say from that.
Yeah, I like the light. Yeah, I'm sure it looks a lot better in color, but it seems really bright and colorful.
Mm-hmm. I like the little detail that Sanji's just casually holding up an umbrella for Robin.
Yeah.
More of that, Sanji, please.
You're right. Yeah, the gentleman.
Mm-hmm. And he has goofy faces, but for his case, at least, again, he's not being gross about it. He's just sort of living up and
just
partying.
happy.
He's swimming. Yeah, he's not creeping on him. He's not trying to touch them. He just likes being around them.
So this, I really feel like does kind of get to the crux of Sanji's character, where he's just like, yes, he loves women, but like, he wouldn't know what to do if he had one.
Yeah, that is.
So it feels like a little boy's definition of masculinity, which I feel like is kind of the gag with him, but they do kind of that line gets weird.
Yeah, the perversion I kind of blurs it a bit.
Yeah, but this stuff I do like. This stuff is fine.
This fits his character. It's how he's always been.
Mm-hmm.
So it all works. And it also, like, the extravagance of his face during this, like, yes, he has been living in his own personal hell. So that's just how it is. It also gets some critical information because it's like, oh, okay, being here seems to have cured him. And if he'd gotten any more nosebleeds, it would have been bad. I'm all out of his type of blood. His blood type is pretty rare,
I think that's interesting. Well, I don't know. This could be a thing. It might be a thing. I can't say with 100% certainty it is a thing, but Sanji's blood type being rare makes sense.
What the hell? All right.
I don't know with 100% certainty. Again, that might be more me tinfoil hatting, but like, interesting. That's interesting. That's an interesting little comment.
All right. And it's okay.
Yeah.
Luffy mentions that to Cammy's like, there's somebody on Fishman Island I want to see. And she's like, oh, the mermaid princess? I was like, no, Jimbei. I'm like, yeah, Jimbei.
Jimbei's here.
I want to see Jimbei. And we get to see the full kingdom of Ryugu on Fishman Island, which,
yeah.
I mean, design-wise, it looks freaking fantastic. I guess there's not as much to explain, but I don't know. Maybe I'm coming around to it a little bit more now on a reread, but the first time through was just like, I don't know, it just wasn't hitting the same.
Yeah, I can understand that for sure. I'll go ahead and bring this up here because we'll see more and more of it as time goes on. But like, so Ryugu is an actual place in a Japanese folklore of Momotaro Densetsu, which is like a common fairy tale about like a boy who goes underwater and finds basically like an underwater kingdom.
Right.
I'm grossly simplifying that, but like there are in this arc and beyond, there are a lot of allusions to the Momotaro legend. So I'll try to point those out when we get there. It's not just Fishman Island. There's actually there's a lot of nods to it, and I feel like I need to read up on it so that I have a better understanding of the references. But I know that this is sort of like the first big one.
Okay.
Of kind of the underwater society.
Dragon Ball got Journey to the West.
Yeah.
One Piece gets Momotaro Densetsu. But unfortunately, Jinbei is not on the island right now. He quit being one of the 7 warlords, and the former Fishman pirates weren't allowed to stay here anymore. So they left the island along with Jinbei.
That's kind of an interesting, detail.
Yeah, it's interesting that the former Fishman pirates were sort of banished in a way.
Yeah, kind of like, I feel like there are things about this that I certainly don't remember, but I feel like we're kind of getting into the idea that like the Fishman pirates, this is their home, but like do they want them here? Like are they being banished? You know, like how does the rest of Fishman Island see the Fishman pirates? I guess like I know there's some history there that we'll get into, but like I'm curious to what level.
Because all we get is it's a long story, but after the war, a lot of stuff happened. Like, no kidding.
Yeah, I could imagine. Yeah, a lot of stuff has happened. You know, we already knew that they were under protection of Whitebeard, which, you know, that's not a thing anymore. So,
But turns out there's a ship headed their way, and they've got to hide Luffy and the others because of, you know, them entering illegally. And it turns out to be a royal gondola from Ryugu Castle. So it's the royal family.
Yeah.
Well, they say, I doubt anybody from the royal family be on this ship. Why would they come to this corner of the island all the way from the castle? Turns out the Neptune brothers were on there. So yeah, the royal family is there. The 3 princes.
Sanji getting a face full.
Yeah, got the freckled mermaid hiding him.
Hiding, quote unquote.
Nestled between the peaks.
Yeah.
Although I do love, again, Chopper and his complete failure to hide.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. That's so great.
That gag will never get old. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's adorable.
But that's when we meet the 3 princes.
I forgot. These guys are freaks.
Yeah, they are. The most normal one is the oldest, Fukaboshi, the first son, Shark Merman.
He's jacked, but he's got a freaky face.
Yeah, he does. Ryuboshi, the second son, who's a giant oarfish, who definitely has a freaky look and loves to sing.
Yeah, he's, you know, Fisaso Latido. Yeah, all that stuff.
Kind of reminds me of Igaram.
Yeah!
Because he would always go like...
Oh, God, they would totally be besties. They would
be
besties, for sure. Oh, my goodness.
And then Momboshi, the sunfish merman who is all about dancing. So, okay, we got a singer, we got a dancer. I wonder what Fuka, like, I think Mambo, and I think, okay, Momboshi? Mambo? There's a theme here that I'm not quite getting, but that's all right.
Yeah, I should probably look this up later. I also like that, you know, kind of traditional... I feel like that Fukaboshi has like a spear.
Oh, the trident?
Yeah, the trident. Yeah, that feels very traditionally, you know, like underwater, like Aquaman.
Oh yeah, underwater you gotta have a trident. That's just how it is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But they're like, so received a report of an illegal entry. Are they here? No. Are they important? Not sure. We're gonna find out. And that's when Hammond is looking around and sees them. It's like, oh, geez, they're here. What a pain. And it's like, well, thanks very much. We're going to have look elsewhere. The Border Patrol must have been mistaken. So apologies for interrupting your games. We're going to leave now. Meanwhile, they're like, okay, coast clear. Sanji, though, very much still nestled. He can't keep it in anymore.
He can't hold it in. And it just a mermaid-shaped just pool of blood.
Burst of blood from his nose.
Like 200 feet in the air.
Just all the blood in his body just expelled because of that. And I like the variation on the joke that it's actually taking form now. But it's also like, you son of a gun, Oda. You made Sanji's freaking nosebleeds plot important.
Yeah, I again, kind of like we talked about earlier, like this kind of becomes like a liability is just kind of the most like, oh man, Sanji. I feel like because of this arc, it really takes a little while for Sanji to kind of find his stride in the time skip.
Yeah,
he really is, especially in this section, much more humor focused, and the humor, you know, You kind of take it or leave it. But not only is it plot important, it kind of blows their cover.
Honestly, I just end up feeling bad for the mermaid, because you look at the panel and she's just covered in blood. I'm like, oh, that's
right. Girl. Yeah, like she's freaking out and worried about him. Yeah, it's Sanji can't help but cause trouble.
I do like the pun of ammo knights, though.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
There's a lot of really good puns here.
But yeah, it turns out, yep, they were looking for Luffy, all right. So then Hammond's group sees them. It's like, oh yeah, that's the Straw Hats. So they're gonna get captured. So we don't want to scuffle with the Neptune army right now. So we just have to leave it go. And that's when Chomper comes out. It's like, hey, I'm sorry we entered your country illegally, but please don't arrest us yet. We need somebody that can donate some blood. Our friend is actually dying. His blood type is SRH negative, a bit rare. Does anybody have it, or do fishmen and humans not have the same kind of blood?
This gets into some really interesting stuff.
Yeah, because they're all like worried about all that, and Cammy basically comes out and says, mermaids and fishmen and humans all have the same blood. We can get transfusions from each other, but... And that's when Hammond interrupts coming in. It's like, no, this is nonsense. You're an inferior race. No fishman would actually give you any blood. And if anybody did, the ones who hate humans would come to judge them in the dead of night, which I don't know if judge is a light term for what I think was actually happened there.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Then he kind of goes on to say that, like, they actually have a law that is forbidden to share blood with any humans, and... Not only that, it was, this makes sense, but it was a law made by the humans in the first place, because that they had, they called them monsters, and, they refused to mix blood with the fishmen. So we're kind of dealing with the echoes of sort of the racism of the past here.
And it makes sense, too, because the reasons it's in place is that Fisher Tiger, the important hero of Fishman Island, who freed the slaves, whether they were human or fishman, was in a bloody battle and basically was bleeding out, and he could have been saved if he was given a transfusion. However, the humans that were part of this battle refused to donate any blood to him, and that's why he died.
Well, actually, hold on. I was about to move on, but I do think it is interesting. Like, boy, as much as I guess it's like we learned about Fisher Tiger back on Amazon Lily, and I'm fascinated by how much there's more than one side to that issue, right? Like it feels weirdly true to life in that way when talking about sort of like revolutions and like race relations and stuff. Like those things don't come that easily, right? And I think the idea that there is kind of this grudge being held almost, despite seemingly like what manner of like all of the good things that Fisher Tiger, he seems like a good person who tried to accomplish good things, but in the end couldn't overcome the issues of his day.
No, and then that's ingrained because this great hero that even helped humans, was still left languishing on the side.
Yeah, I know we're gonna learn more about Fisher Tiger in this arc, but there's a lot of it that I really don't remember. So I'm wondering what the truth of the narrative is, right? Like,
right.
There's definitely multiple sides to this going on, but I'm sure a lot of it will be cleared up as we go on.
Oh, I'm sure. But it comes to make sense. It's like, oh, as Usopp pointed out, oh God, Sanji's going to die a very stupid death.
Yes, he is.
Like this stupid plot point for the nosebleeds actually has relevancy and serves to explain why fishmen don't share blood, and the sort of the inherent mistrust between the two sides, which again, understandable. It completely makes sense. But that's when they're like, Usopp calls out. It's like, I don't care what laws you have around here. Doesn't anybody have that type of blood? We'll do anything to repay you. Please, you have to save his life. And that's when Hammond tries to take him with a bayonet.
Yes. Although I find it funny that like after this huge speech from him, like he's like, no, like Luffy, I'm gonna bring you to my boss, as if like after all this, that's what he wants. And of course, he shoots the bayonet and Luffy's just like, nah.
It's just jet pistols, the three of them, and that's it. Because Hammond has two buddies.
Yeah, not only that, he like teleports basically like DBZ style.
I didn't think he teleported. I thought he just did his stretch.
He's under the net, but then he teleports behind him.
Oh, yeah. There it is. Yeah, I missed that part. Oh, you also almost missed it. We got the name of his boss, of Hammond's boss.
Oh, yes! That's
Hody
important.
Jones.
Hody Jones. Yeah. So that I think is very illustrative of how I feel about Hody, that I just completely missed it, the name drop.
Oh, no. Oh, do we have another Moria?
Oh, you know what? We'll put a pin in that one.
Okay. We'll see how that all goes.
Oh my god, I can't believe oh, that's so funny. I was so locked in. I'm like, ooh, racism. Just like, all right, Hody.
Right. Well, Hammond's down, and their squirrel sea beast is going to attack, and Luffy just puts out his palm and just like, no.
Man.
It immediately calms it.
Luffy's awesome.
Yeah, he is. Even impresses Fukaboshi.
All the times we've seen him use his Supreme King Haki now, it's just been like the confidence, the calmness of it is so. It's a night and day difference than just like the screaming out.
It is cool to see Luffy in this element after 100 odd chapters of him getting his butt kicked.
Yeah.
Cammy gets back from after swimming off with a giant fish. Wants them to jump on. We're going to go to town. There should hopefully be some humans. We might be able to find one that can give a transfusion to Sanji. She'd let him have her blood, but they're not the same type.
I love Sanji's fault for having too many dirty thoughts.
He's smiling even now. It's like, no, stop thinking. You could die. It's just so dumb.
It is dumb. Yeah, I love who stop on the next page. Like, I never thought a stupid nosebleed could be so serious. And yeah, we're learning now that the scars of racism really do run deep here.
Yeah, and Cammy unfortunately has to point out, it's like, don't relax just yet. Once we get to town, it might take a while to find a donor. There haven't been any human visitors this past month. You're kind of the first in a long time. It's like, wait, it's a hotspot for travelers, right? Well, we think somebody's attacking people on the way here because something sinister seems to be going on.
I mean, it's probably those darned new Fishman pirates, if I had to throw out a guess.
I mean, you could take it as them just specifically looking for Luffy because of the way everybody's acting like, oh, Luffy's here. But might be everybody in this case. Except we learned something from Fukaboshi as they leave.
This caught me off guard.
Yeah, I did. I forgot about this. He's like, why did you harbor the pirates? It's like, well, Cammy said they were her friends, so we thought it'd be too harsh for them to get charged with illegal entry. So, we hope Sanji's going to be all right. And it's like, no, you jumped to the wrong conclusion. They're notorious pirates. They didn't need to be examined at the border because we already knew who they were. It's like, we wanted to see them to give him Jinbei's message.
Oh,
and that's how we end the chapter. It's like, dang it.
That's interesting considering that we learned that they were like Jinbei got banished. He got excommunicated, but it seems like the royalty still wanted to relay his message. Yeah, there's a lot about that I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember how this whole thing plays out or even what the message is.
I have no idea. I mean, there is an SBS, but honestly, nothing of major. Like, we could get the name of two of Law's crew, but that's not that important, so.
Yeah. Silly little guys.
Yep. Let's go ahead and move on to chapter 610, Madame Charlie, Fortune Teller.
We got to talk about this cover page,
Yes,
man.
we do.
We got to talk about this.
So our setup here is Vivi scrubbing the palace floors while supervised from some Siamese cats. We're dealing in some fetish territory here. I'm sorry.
Not only that, I just remembered this. So the person submitting this Akira Jean-Baptiste Hattori, he's a Shonen Jump editor.
Oh, somebody's really laying out their fetishes.
Not only that, if any of y'all have read Bakuman, which is a Shonen Jump manga about making manga from the Death Note creative duo, Hattori is a real character in that.
Oh my god. Is he
that's why I know who he is.
Good character?
I don't remember. I think so. God, no, it's been decades since I've read Bakuman, but yeah, it wasn't until just now that I was like, wait, I know that name.
Well, it's just one of those things where we've always seen this like really happy-go-lucky Vivi in a lot of situations, and here it's this like Vivi on her hands and knees scrubbing while a cat inspects the floor, pointing out spots she missed. She's covered in water and bubbles.
Yep.
While another cat has bride training on a flag behind her. It's like,
yeah.
I don't know how much of this is Hattori. I don't know how much of this is Oda, but it's like,
Poor Vivi. I feel like she doesn't deserve this.
She really doesn't.
It's a little humiliating. Actually, the more I think, because at first I thought it was kind of like funny in an eye rolling kind of way, but the more I think about it, the more it's just kind of gross and humiliating.
Yeah, it's more just kind of skeevy. Like the only reason it's kind of funny is because it's cats, but it's like,
but it's in one of the, it's like the writer's barely disguised fetish. It's that
very much so.
Yeah,
like,
it's like, okay, all right.
All right.
Thankfully, future portrayals of Vivi aren't so gross, I think.
I am glad for that. But we start the chapter on Coral Hill in Port Town, Ryugu Kingdom. And Sanji is alive and actually getting that blood transfusion. Turns out that they've made it to the home of one of Cammy's friends. Fortunately, Cammy has a lot of friends.
Yeah, it sounds like she's well liked here. I do kind of like that Sanji doesn't remember what happened, and he was like, where was I? What was I doing? And they're like, no. Don't try to remember.
You will die. And Usopp's like, you gotta be thankful because these people gave you their blood. We found them at the tavern. That's when they come out and be like, that's right, we're all people here. We should always help each other in times of need. It's like, oh, the beautiful ladies give me blood. And then we find the twin pirates splash and splatter. More queens.
More queens. Oh, how did they get here?
That's a good question. Are they actually pirates or like are they fishmen? I don't know. We never see their bottom half. So,
assuming that this is the end of this stupid joke, I do like that it ends with Sanji kind of getting what's coming to him. I can appreciate. Assuming that that's the end of things, because I don't remember, and I kind of sincerely hope that we're truly done with that nonsense.
Especially because, as we've determined, we can't have these for jokey senses because we're out of blood. He has to stop.
Yes, he has to stop. And then I do kind of like moving on from that. I kind of like this interesting conversation between Luffy and Chopper here, where Chopper's like, "Oh, Luffy, you got bit by venom."
He was saying like, "Yeah, when I was fighting the fisherman, I felt a tingle." He's like, "Oh, geez, this venom's really strong, but you already have the antibodies for it, so you fought back the poison without even noticing. That's incredible. Did you ever get hit by a lot of poison?" Yeah.
Yeah, I almost died.
Yeah. Oh, Luffy now has a sort of an immunity to poison. Holy crap.
I think this comes up a few times in the future. That Luffy just has an innate resistance to poison now thanks to Magellan, which is awesome.
Yeah. Shortened his life a little bit, but it's helping him against other poison. So that's all good. But pretty interesting here is that from Luffy's like, the swordsman with the octopus legs. He's the only one that blocked my attack. So he's pretty strong. And that's when we meet him, Hyozo, who's a hitman for the new Fishman pirates.
I love this guy's design. He looks like he's up to no good.
Oh yeah, he's definitely the type of like almost lazy swordsman that actually is kind of badass. He's also a drinker. Like he has that gourd. It's always hiccuping from drinking too much.
I don't know if this is the case, but he looks like the kind of guy who would be like the right hand man. He looks like he would be the second in command or something. Kind
of like that, or just a really strong underling that maybe not, like is with him but not really with him.
Yeah.
Type thing. Honestly, in a lot of his design reminds me a lot of ways of, oh God, it's been so long, the wild samurai from Samurai Champloo.
Oh yeah. I don't remember that guy's name.
I don't remember his name either.
I feel it.
It has a similar look. Less exciting is that, Mermaid opened up that barrel and her name's Ashili. She's now missing.
Oh dear.
And Caribou is free.
So you probably assume that she got kidnapped. Well, hey, I feel like that one's on them. That barrel was like sealed tight.
And really shouldn't have done that.
Maybe don't open other people's stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's time to actually meet Madame Charlie, who looks awesome. Love her design.
Yeah, love her design. Also, because we have Kami in the shot too, she's huge.
Yeah, she is. I just realized what the bubbles are for because Kami's in a bubble now. So it turns out the bubbles are just so they can move around more easily in the air.
That makes sense.
So
yeah,
there we go. It's like, oh, he's alive. Thanks to you letting us use our rooms, but don't go in there. You're too beautiful, and don't tell Sanji this is actually in the Mermaid Cafe. So
yeah,
we can't let him do that. But it turns out she's a fortune teller. She has a crystal ball that she uses, even though she gave up fortune telling because, well, it's usually better left unknown.
And then Luffy just comes straight up like, hey, do you poop?
Which actually upsets her. It's like, no, apologize.
I feel like she's the first one to actually get mad at that question.
Yeah, everybody else is like, yeah, I poop.
Yeah.
I love her sound effect is just shark.
Yep.
Cammy, you can take the day off, show your friends around, because we haven't had any human pirates here for some time. There's almost nothing to do. So, we're good here. You can be with them. So we got to go deliver some clams to Papagoo. He actually is in the cafe. He said he bumped into an old friend.
Oh, I wonder what that could mean.
Only Luffy and Usopp head out because Chopper wants to keep an eye on Sanji. So
Yes.
Fitting. We get a little bit of backstory on Charlie. Because when she was young, she said a lot of pirates would start coming to the island, and the next year, the Great Age of Pirates began. And she foresaw the Battle of Marineford, the death of Whitebeard, everything else. She hates it because her terrifying visions always come true.
Which that feels...
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's probably not so good.
A little foreboding.
Just a bit. But they make it to the cafe, the front of the cafe. And Luffy wants some meat, and it's like, oh, mermaids don't eat meat or fish. So the menu has things like kelp brulee, seaweed tart, kelp souffle. We do have shellfish.
I love how disappointed Luffy is. Like, shellfish isn't meat. How dare you disrespect meat? He's offended.
I thought shellfish was meat, but I guess I'm wrong.
No.
They get inside, and hey, there's Brook and Papagoo.
Yeah, apparently they're homies now.
Yeah, and
which
Brook
makes sense.
Handling the ladies way better than Sanji. You gotta wonder what this is all about. It's like, come back again, Soul King. You were wonderful. It's like, Brook? It feels like they took my backbone. What?
Yeah, wow. Did they really? He's happy. He doesn't care if he dies, even though he's already dead.
Brook making out way better than
Yeah.
Sanji.
He doesn't have any blood.
That definitely helps a lot, yes. And Papagoo just says, hey, I was about to take old Bones here back to my mansion. Do you like sea beast meat? He's like, Luffy's like, you got meat?
Yes.
I'm all about this.
It's an interesting detail. The mermaids don't eat meat, but the fishmen do eat meat. Which I guess makes sense.
Yeah, you can kind of see the sense in that. Papagoo really likes the clams that Cammy brings around, so he's all about that. And hey, here's a wanted poster, or at least a danger poster for Vanderdecken, the guy we heard about before in The Flying Dutchman. Time to get some more information on that.
Yeah, because we thought he was like, is he a ghost or like, what is he?
Turns out he sent a love letter to the mermaid princess of Ryugu Kingdom every week. He started off with letters and packages, but now he sends threatening letters demanding her hand in marriage.
Oh, he's a
simp.
So the
mermaid princess is too scared to do it. Yeah, he's exactly a simp. She's too scared now because she has a stalker. So
yeah, that's not great.
Her father, King Neptune, and the three sons that we met earlier are still looking for him. They got the army, but they still can't find him.
Well, we know where he is now.
Yeah, we have an idea. So it turns out that this Vanderdecken, he is a descendant of the original. He ended up on Fishman Island and died here, the original. So this is Vanderdecken the Ninth.
So the ship is the real one, but this Vanderdecken is the ninth one. That's kind of hilarious.
Okay, there's an explanation. And we also get a bit of a reminder on Mermaid Society where there's like, here's an old mermaid, just like has fins like Granny Kokoro. As a reminder, when you turn 30, that's when you get your legs.
30 is way too young. I don't like that.
Yeah, it is. I guess that is old age for like, hey, old man in Japanese culture.
Oh.
That's, yeah. And even how babies work, because we got the dad is a fishman, but one of the kids is a merman. When a mermaid or merman marries a fishman, their kids can be fishmen, mermaids, or mermen.
You know what? That's nice and simple. It's just like, it's kind of the genetic lottery, you know?
All works out.
Yeah, which probably, I can imagine that probably explains there's probably not a lot of, like, a discrimination between all of the different types of, you know, mermaids and mermen and fishmen or whatever. Like,
oh, definitely not.
They're all cool. Like, it's just like, it seems like you can't really control that kind of thing.
No, not at all. And that's why, like, Cammy was, like, way back in, like, Saboti was like, me? Hachi? Married?
You're right.
But we also get to see the candy factory with a
pirate
flag on it. Yeah.
Delicious details.
Yes. This flag is also at the entrance of the port, too, because the island is now protected by that flag. It's the flag of Charlotte Linlin of the New World, also known as Big Mom, one of the
There
four
we go.
emperors.
So Big Mom took Whitebeard's place as claiming Fishman territory as her own.
In exchange, she wants loads of sweets every month, so that's what the factory's for. And we need somebody strong to protect us because everybody goes in and out. And Luffy immediately goes like, well, if Big Mom's protecting you, then she must be a good guy. I don't know about that. Whitebeard never asked for anything in return. It's like, maybe for Big Mom, it's just business. So
yeah. Which I feel like on the one hand, like, hey, just give me tons and tons of candy every month and I'll give you my protection. Like that's not a bad deal, I think, compared to what maybe some other pirates would do. Like,
yeah, it's on the better end of things.
Hey, you know what? It's economics. You know, like, again, it's just business. You know,
for sure. So yeah, Luffy wonders if we'll ever meet her. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen at some point.
Don't worry. Well, I'm anticipating the day we get to meet Big Mom.
Oh boy. But we finally arrive in Fishverley Hills, where the rich folks live, and the huge mansion is freaking Papa Goose.
Yeah,
but it's just a starfish.
It's got his branding on it. God, he's kind of full of it.
Yeah, he really is. But we end off with Charlie freaking out. She's in the middle of the Coral Hill screaming out, "Find him, find the pirate with the straw hat, drive him off the island right now. I didn't intend to look, but I sensed something calamitous in him, and I saw the future. I don't want this prophecy to come true, but the human in the straw hat, Luffy, will bring ruin to Fishman Island."
Dun dun dun.
Oh boy.
I wonder what that means. Yeah. I have. There's some really good juicy theories as to what that means.
Oh really? See, I thought my interpretation of that is that Luffy will prove the it wrong by the end of this arc. It's like, no, he's actually cool.
Well, yeah, I definitely, from what I remember, that is a question. Like everybody is suspicious of Luffy because the prophecy is that he will bring ruin to Fishman Island. I do think it's a little deeper than that, and it makes me wonder a lot of things. Also, this is a crackpot theory that will make sense, and I don't feel like I'm alluding to too much. I half wonder if that silhouette is not Luffy.
I mean, maybe.
As for why that is, well, don't worry about it.
I mean, we've already had one fake Luffy, so.
You know what? That's true. But it's one of those things that it makes me wonder. And I feel like I have a half a mind to say that by the end of the series, we might have an answer on why that is.
See, my thought process, usually these type of prophecies go two ways. Like, my prophecy's always right. And then this guy is like, I'm able to defy fate or whatever your prophecy is. And there it goes. Or it is inevitable. So my assumption right off the bat was just, Luffy's going to defy fate.
Right, because this is the one time where she's going to, like, Madame Charlie's predictions are always right. So here comes Luffy, always. I feel like fate has such an interesting role to play in the world of One Piece, where it's something that, like, characters bring up a whole lot. And then there's kind of like, what is Luffy's role in fate? Is it something that, like, is he making it for himself? Or I feel like from what I remember, there's an element here with Luffy and Fishman Island of, like, whether or not I'm dangerous, you have to decide for yourself. I kind of remember that being a thing of, like, I don't care, but, you know, whether or not you think that's true is everybody's kind of like, everybody has the right to make that their own determination. So I'm really curious what this means in the short term and the long term, because I actually do feel like there is a non-zero chance Fishman Island could potentially get destroyed. And for a number of reasons that could make sense potentially.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, some of it I know is at the end of the arc. I know there are a couple of things that are like, you know what? Maybe? I don't know. I'm spitballing here because I know a couple things, but also we haven't quite gone back to this one yet in terms of, like, plot point.
I'm definitely foggy on it. I have no idea. I could think of a couple of different ways that, like, it gets destroyed for good and bad reasons, but I don't know. Yeah,
it depends. Like, I guess it's just kind of how you look at it. I feel like a lot about what kind of the greater things at play are like is this good? Is this bad? You know? It really depends. So I could see a situation, again, if this prophecy were to come true, it could be for a good and noble cause, or it could be for a bad reason. I genuinely think it could be either or, which is what makes me so fascinated. Like, is this actually going to be a thing? Is it not? You know, it remains to be said.
Guess we'll find out. It's fascinating, though. Mm-hmm. We do have an SBS. Most of it's just reconfirming other things, but one of those confirmations is that Luffy got the scar from Aki Inu when he attacked Jinbei.
Right, because if you weren't looking for it, it would be kind of hard to notice.
Yeah, I could see it being an assumption that, Luffy just got it during his training.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's no indication after the war, like, 'cause he's, bandaged up the whole time.
Yeah, so it's good to have confirmation for that. But, yeah, we went longer than I thought.
Yeah, surprisingly.
There is some meat on here, and I think it's just because it is on a new wavelength. We've got a new location to sort of talk about.
Yeah,
some meaty things, but I don't know. It's interesting. So I definitely will say my impression of this set of chapters is a bit better than the first time I read it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's. I feel like, again, when you're taking your time, there's stuff here for sure.
So yeah, with that, I believe we've said all we've wanted to say about chapters 606 to 610 of One Piece. Thank you so much for listening, and you can find more of my ramblings and stream VODs over at BitNerd Games on YouTube, or BitNerd with an underscore at the end on Twitter. And Brandon, where can everyone find you at?
I am at Brandon Bovia on Twitter, talking about anime, manga, games, and my job. And just holding down the fort, talking about Beyblade. That's what I do.
There you go. Definitely check that out. And if you'd like to help us out more, you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/Derek Bittner. That's DERRICKBITNER to listen to the next episode ad-free 3 days early. And make sure to return next time as we discuss chapters 611 to 615 of One Piece. So until then, my friends, bye.
Remember to take life one piece at a time.
Hide here and stay still.
What is this feeling? A marshmallow, maybe? No, it's too big for that. But it has such a sweet smell. Intoxicating, like some forbidden fruit. Yet too soft to be a melon. Too warm. Hey, what are...